name is Jenny Wigham. I am coming live from 21st Yoga Studio in Salt Lake City. And today I'm teaching a core and restore class. We'll be focusing on grounding. We recently celebrated Earth Day and a new moon, so it's a great time to really take a moment to ground, to really find your foundation, to turn in and really connect back to your roots, to who you are, what makes you you, and to kind of cultivate, within that grounding, just cultivating kind of where we want to plant ourselves, where we want to plant our roots and allow ourselves to grow. So for props today, you are going to want at least one block, possibly two if you have two, or something similar. We will be using one in between the legs, so something you can squeeze on, something that'll hold a little firmness to help create some resistance. You'll also want a bolster, or you can use a couch cushion or a stack of pillows. You also may want a blanket for Shavasana. So yeah, that's it for props, so let's get started. We'll get in a nice seated position, so whatever that looks like for you. I like to sit up on a prop, either a block or a bolster. Just helps to tilt the pelvis forward and find a little more length in the spine. So take time to really settle in to your seat. Legs could be crossed, they could extend, they could knees up towards the chest, whatever feels right for you. Feel free to get any wiggles out. And then as you start to settle in, really ground down to those sits bones. Feel that solid connection down to the earth. And then use that connection to lengthen up through the crown of the head. You're welcome to close the eyes or take them to a soft gaze. And just allow yourself to start to settle in here. If you have some wiggles, feel free to get them out. If you need to make any adjustments, feel free. But then start to find some stillness. Starting to really connect down to the earth. And as you start to settle, start to feel the support of the ground beneath you, and start to open up your senses. Start to tune into anything outside of you, any noises that you may hear. With a home practice, it's usually inevitable to have some sort of outside noises or potential distractions. Just allow yourself to acknowledge those things and be somewhat detached from them so that they become a part of the process. It's not something that pulls your focus away or creates a disturbance in the mind, but just allowing it to be part of the process. And then start to draw all of your awareness inward. Start to find a deeper connection to your breath. You're also welcome to find ujjayi breathing, finding an activation of the muscles in the back of the throat. So you get that beautiful oceanic sound, that whisper breath, a nice little audible cue for the mind to tune into. And as you continue to connect to your breath, to explore the body, just checking in, noticing how you're feeling, where you're feeling it. Continue to connect to the earth, to this grounding force. And we'll take that a step further by bringing in a Mula Bandha activation, or that root lock. So at the pelvic floor, we're gonna lift. So that's also engaging the perineum. So if it's like you're doing a Kegel or trying to stop a flow of urine, you're really squeezing those muscles and lifting up. So we get this lift of the pelvis, and then that helps to direct that energy upward. So we're going to come back to this Mula Bandha activation, this pelvic floor lift throughout our practice, but really focus on that as we continue to connect to the breath. Awesome work. And we'll just start to bring some movement in through the torso. So think cat-cow here. We're gonna inhale to send the chest forward, gaze lifts, shoulder blades draw back, little arch in the spine. And exhale, round out in the back as you bring the shoulders forward and tuck the chin in towards the chest. Taking a few more rounds like that, finding some movement in the torso, opening through the front and back side of the core. Awesome, one more here. And then that same kind of idea, we're gonna take the movement side to side. So just moving through the torso, move it right and left. And now this is an isolated movement. So we're trying to just move through the obliques, engaging the front and back torso, getting a little activation in the low back. Just moving nice and slow side to side. Continuing to breathe. Continuing to feel that connection down to your sits bones. One more each side. Awesome work. We'll come back to center. Go ahead and remove any props you may be sitting on. And we're going to extend the legs out. And with that same kind of rounding out like we have in our seated cat, we're going to use this same rounding out to take it all the way down to the ground. So find that connection to the sits bones, lengthen out through the crown of the head, draw the belly in, hug ribs in, arms could extend out, and then we're going to slowly start to round it out. Start with the low back first as we send it all the way down to the ground. Take your time, one vertebrae at a time. It's okay if you shake, it's okay if you end up rocking back, but take your time to get down to the ground. Slowly release the shoulders, release the head, then we'll draw the knees in towards the chest. Locate one of your blocks or whatever you're choosing to use in between the legs. Slide it in between the thighs as close to the root as possible. We're going to draw the belly down, hug ribs in, extend the legs up towards the sky, flex the toes back, squeeze the legs in on the block. Interlace the hands behind the head, open up through the elbows, lift through the chin. Awesome work. We're going to take a nice inhale here to lift the hips up. Exhale, lower down. So it's a subtle movement. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. We're bringing in the scoop of the tailbone to lift the hips up and using our core to slowly lower down. If you want a little more, raise the head, neck, and shoulders up off the ground and have that static hold. Or reach the arms up towards the sky, and as you lift the hips, lift the fingertips up towards the toes. So a few different variations you could explore. Continue to draw the belly down, hug the ribs in, and breathe. Squeeze in on that block and find that Mula Bandha activation. Find that lift in the pelvic floor, that squeezing of the perineum. Awesome work. One more here with the hold. So we're lifting. It's okay if you shake, squeeze the legs in. Again, fingers could be reaching up towards the toes or supporting the head. The neck and shoulders could be on the ground as well. One more deep inhale here. And exhale, release it all down. Awesome work. Legs could stay extended or they could come down for a few free rounds of breath. We're going to continue with the block in between the legs. So for this round, once again, we're going to extend the legs up towards the sky, flex the toes back, squeeze the block. Hands can be down alongside the body, palms pressing down, or again, the hands could be behind the head, bringing in some support, or the arms could reach up. We're going to squeeze the block, flex the toes, inhale here, and exhale, open up. So we're going to lower the legs down, inhale, raise them back up. Awesome work. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, raise it up. So when you have that choice to leave the head, neck, and shoulders on the ground, exhale, lower. Inhale, raise. You could also raise the head, neck, and shoulders up with the support of the hands. Or again, you could bring the hands reaching up towards the feet. And as you lower the legs down, Lower the arms down. Awesome work. Squeeze the block, flex the toes, draw the belly down, hug ribs in. Starting to build up some heat in the body. Awesome work. One more with a hold. So as you open up, pause here. Squeeze that block. Breathe into it. One more deep inhale. And exhale, draw the knees in, release the head down. Awesome. Couple free rounds of breath. Feel that belly fire. Feel that grounding. All right, we're going to continue working with the block in between the legs. We're going to be taking some twists side to side, hovering the legs, firing up the obliques. So the legs could be extended, toes flex back. You could also bring a bend in the knees. And for this one, let's bring the arms out into a T, palms facing down. Draw the belly in, draw belly down, hug ribs in. Nice inhale here. Exhale, start to drop the knees over towards the right, hovering at whatever height feels best for you. And then inhale, draw the knees back towards center. Exhale, start to drop the knees over towards the left. And inhale back through center. Continue to squeeze in on that block. Find that Mula Bandha activation. So we're lifting up through the pelvic floor. And with that activation, we're moving from that energy we're creating in that root chakra. Awesome work. Don't forget to breathe. And the knees aren't coming all the way down, just as far to give you a little challenge through the obliques as you raise the knees back up. Awesome work. We're going to hold each side. So we're going to come to the right, pause in your hover, and then lower the knees all the way down into a twist. Maybe you move the block up a little ways in between the knees. You could also completely remove the block in this twist. Take a few deep rounds of breath here. Awesome work. Squeeze the block. Draw the knees back up towards center. And exhale. Drop the knees over towards the left. Let them hover for 2 to 3 rounds of breath. A static hold here. And then release the knees all the way down to the ground, finding that twist. Knowing that we don't need to go very far into twist, you can raise that right shoulder up off the ground for a more gentle option or not drop the knees over quite as far. Awesome work. We'll find that engagement in the obliques. Inhale, draw the knees back up towards center. We'll leave the block in between the knees. We'll plant the feet, walking the feet into, or the heels in towards the glutes. And then we're going to lift up through the chest, tuck the shoulder blades underneath, setting up for a bridge pose. Now we're going to press into the feet, press the shins forward, squeeze in on that block, find Mula Bandha activation. From all of that activation, we're going to inhale to slowly start to scoop the tailbone down, and then lift the hips up just as high as feels okay. And just as slow, 1 vertebrae at a time, exhale, roll the spine down. Hips touch. Awesome work. This is where we will repeat. Inhale, squeeze the block, lift the hips as high as feels okay. Exhale, lower down, squeeze the block nice and slow. Awesome work. A few more here. Inhale, scoop that tailbone, and then lift the hips. And exhale, nice and slow, lower back down. One more through this bridge, moving bridge. Inhale, lift the hips. Exhale, lower down. Awesome work. Next round, we're going to hold. So inhale, lift, and pause. You're welcome to interlace the hands behind the back, maybe even tucking the shoulders a little more, finding a little more lift in the chest. Squeeze the blocks, press into the feet. If you want a little more challenge, continuing to squeeze the block together, maybe extend the right leg out. Awesome work. Pressing into that left foot. When you're ready, lower the right foot down, squeeze the block, extend through the left leg. Nice and slow. Lower back down, or lower the foot back down. One more deep inhale in your bridge. Maybe hips lift just a little higher. Exhale, unclasp through the hands, untuck through the shoulders, nice and slow. Lower all the way down. Awesome work. Go ahead and remove the block. Draw the knees in towards the chest. Maybe a little rocking side to side might feel good here. Awesome work. Then we're going to extend out through the arms, extend out through the legs. Take a big good morning stretch. So lengthen through the limbs. You can roll out through the wrists and ankles, wiggle through the fingers, spread out through the toes. Awesome work. Now we're going to revisit that roll down that we did to get to the ground, but we're going to use it to come up and down. So the arms overhead, extend out through the legs. Inhale, reach the arms up towards the sky, and then use that to slowly start to raise up. Nice and slow. Coming up to a seat. And then exhale, fold it forward. With that same rounding of the spine, we're going to inhale to start to send it back down, rolling down one vertebrae at a time, exhaling all the way down to the ground, arms overhead, and we'll repeat. Inhale, arms reach up. As you slowly, one vertebrae at a time, roll up to seat. Exhale. Come towards a gentle forward fold. You can have the knees bent. Nothing forceful here, maybe 60-70% of your flexibility. And then we'll slowly start to roll it back. Again, one vertebrae at a time, presses in. Find that engagement in the core. Slowly lower down. One more round, arms reach overhead. Inhale, reach the arms up towards the sky. Let that draw the head, neck, shoulders, upper back, mid back, low back, all the way up. Exhale, forward fold. Let's pause here. You bring a softening in the knees. You can bend the knees as much as you'd like. And we're not going to full flexibility. Don't feel like you have to fold in half. Just get a nice release through the head, neck, and shoulders. A nice stretch through the hamstrings and a stretch through the low back. Awesome work. One more. Slowly start to come up. Bring the bottoms of the feet to touch. Let the knees drop open. Cobbler's pose. Inhale to lengthen up. Exhale, slowly start to bow it forward. Nothing forceful here. It's tempting to grab the feet and want to pull ourselves down. Again, just come to maybe 70% of your flexibility. Release the head, neck down. Get a little opening in the hips. Awesome work. As you feel ready, nice and slow, start to roll back up. We'll come to hands and knees. Setting up our tabletop, spreading out through the hands, find that solid connection. Point the toes, press into the tops of the feet. Find length in the spine. Out through the crown of the head, out through the tailbone. Find that Mula Bandha activation. Lift through the pelvic floor, and we'll move through some cat-cow. Inhaling, drop the belly, pelvis lifts, heart shines forward, gaze lifts. Exhale, round it out. Belly draws in and up, ribs hug in. Awesome, couple more rounds here. Awesome work. When you're ready, we're gonna prop the toes, find engagement in the core, slowly start to lift the knees, find that length in the spine as you root back through the heels, and then we'll continue to lift the hips as we come to our first downward dog. Pedal through the feet, feel free to shake the head, yes or no. And as you feel ready, we're gonna ground down to the left heel, and inhale, raise the right leg up, three-legged dog. And we're gonna bend the knee. Without shifting anything else, we're gonna start to lift the knee up towards the ceiling, opening up through the hips. So finding a scorpion here, but nothing, checking with the shoulders. We don't wanna drop down that left shoulder or wrist. We want the shoulders fairly squared. Awesome work. Inhale to re-extend through the leg. Exhale, we're gonna step the foot between the hands. We're gonna pivot the back heel down to a 45-degree angle. We're coming into warrior one. You can have the front heel in line with the back heel, or what I found works best for me is taking my feet a little wider in my warrior one. Inhale, once you find your foundation, raise it up, warrior one. So we've got the hips squared forward. We're drawing that right hip back, left hip is shifting forward while we're grounding down into that back foot. That back foot's at a 45-degree angle. We're pressing into that back edge of the foot, or the outer edge of the foot. Rooting down towards all four corners of the front foot. Inhale, reach the arms up towards the sky. Awesome, we're getting an opening in the hip, some strengthening for the leg. Beautiful work. Inhale to reach it up. Exhale, start to send the hands back as you hover the chest over the thighs, starting to find activation there. Or maybe the arms stay raised overhead, channeling that energy out through the crown of the head. So that hovering, starting to bring in some more activation in the core. One more deep inhale here. Exhale, release both hands down to the inside of the right foot. Then we're gonna travel the hands towards center. Both feet come parallel. We're coming to a wide leg forward fold. Awesome work, release through the head, neck, and shoulders. Take a few free rounds of breath here. You're welcome to shake it out. Keep a little micro bend in the knees at least. You can bend the knees as much as you'd like. Awesome work. Inhale to a half lift. And then we're gonna walk the hands towards the back foot as we bend in that back knee, straightening through the front leg, finding this opening in the inner thigh and in the hip. You're welcome to stay here with all toes pointing forward, or you come all the way down into that back knee, pivot the front toes so that they lift up towards the sky, and maybe take it a step further by bringing the hands to the heart. Find a little balancing here. Awesome work, so we're getting this nice inner thigh stretch, opening for the hips. Find that Mula Bandha activation, lift from the pelvic floor. Awesome work, we're gonna switch it to the other side. If you want, you can stay nice and low as you come across, or you can come up through our wide leg forward fold and then bend that front knee, extending through the back. And your choice, if you stay here, lower the hips down, send the back toes up, and maybe you bring hands to heart. Find that Mula Bandha activation, lift in that pelvic floor. Find your breath. Awesome work. When you're ready, we'll come back through center, release the head and neck down, hands find the ground. The hands could also come to blocks. We'll once again inhale to find a half lift. Find this extension through the spine. Draw the belly in, hug ribs in. Let the shoulder blades wrap onto the back. Fire up the back side of the core here. Bring hands to hips or let them extend out into a T. Really finding that hovering of the chest, strengthening through the back side of the core as we lengthen out through the crown of the head. One more deep inhale. Exhale, release the hands down. Start to walk the hands forward. All toes turn forward while the hands are still on the inside of the right foot, and we find a lizard pose. So you're welcome to stay here. The back knee could lower down. You could also work towards lowering the elbows down towards the ground or towards blocks. So you're getting a nice opening in the hips. Stretch for the hip flexor. Awesome, we're a couple more rounds of breath here. As you feel ready, we'll gently start to make our way, or raise our way back up. Plant the hands, prop the back toe, lift the back knee, and we're gonna draw that right foot back to plank pose. Find either plank or half plank with the knees lowered. Connect to the hands, press the ground away, engage in the core slowly for a count of 5, lowering all the way to the belly. 4, 3, 2, 1, and release. Awesome work, press the feet. We're gonna either leave the hands where they are. Well, let's leave the hands where they are for now. We'll find activation in the feet, so pressing into the legs and squeeze the legs together. Imagine you have that block in between the legs. We're gonna inhale to raise the feet up. Maybe it feels okay to raise the head up. And we're staying active here. If the hands are staying on the ground, elbows draw together, maybe the hands start to hover. Awesome work. If you want a little more, we're gonna stay here, or inhale to open through the legs. Exhale to close. Hands could reach back. Inhale, open. Exhale, close. Last one. Inhale, open. Exhale, close. Pause here. Inhale, lift just a little higher. Exhale, release it down. Hands come underneath the shoulders. Prop the toes. Press the ground away. Reverse push up. Come back up through plank or half plank. And then lift the hips. Downward dog. Awesome work. Take a couple rounds of breath in down dog. Or maybe grab a drink. Awesome. All right, take it to the other side. We're gonna root down towards the right heel. Inhale, raise the left leg up, three-legged dog. And then without changing anything else in the body, bend the knee, heel towards the glute. Knee starts to lift up towards the sky as you open through the hips. Again, we're not twisting. We're not dropping weight into that right wrist or shoulder. Shoulders are squared, hips lift. Awesome work. Inhale to re-extend through the leg. Exhale, step the foot between the hands. And we'll set up for our warrior one. So you're gonna pivot that back heel down at a 45-degree angle. Again, find the width for what works, width of the legs for what works for you and your body. And then when you feel nice and stable, inhale, raise up, warrior one. Arms could reach up and overhead. They come to goalposts, they can come to hips. We're working with those squared hips, so left hip drawing back, right hip shifting forward as you press back into that back foot. Awesome work. When you're ready, start to hover the chest forward. Maybe the arms reach overhead, channeling that energy from the root all the way up through the crown. Awesome work. One more deep inhale here. Exhale, release it all down. Both hands come to the inside of the left foot. And then we'll start to travel the hands towards center. Toes or feet come parallel as we find a wide-legged forward fold on the other side. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold it in. Awesome work. Again, we want to keep at least a micro bend in the knees, but you can bend the knees as much as you'd like. Find your breath. Press into the outsides of the feet. Awesome work. Now this round, we're just going to inhale to a half lift. Find that extension, find that activation. Then we're going to bring the hands, once again, either to the hips or extend them out into a T. Find that wrapping of the shoulders, the engagement of the backside of the core, lengthen the spine, pressing into the feet, soften in the knees. And then on an inhale, using all that strength, we'll start to raise up to standing. Awesome work. Heels in, toes out. We're going to come into goddess pose. So inhale to reach the arms out, make a star shape. Exhale, bend the knees, bend the elbows, lower down. Inhale, re-extend, find that mula bandha. Exhale, lower root down. Awesome work. One more with the hold. Inhale, lift and extend. Exhale, lower down and pause. So arms can stay in goalposts, nice and strong, spread out through the hands. They could also come into prayer or come down to the thighs. We've got both knees externally rotating. So the root is coming down towards the ground, but we've got a lift in the pelvic floor. We're finding that mula bandha activation. Awesome work. Root lock here. If you want to play a little bit, raise the right heel. Lower right heel, raise the left. Awesome work. Maybe you play with that, a little alternating for a few rounds. Continue to lower the hips down. Awesome work. Maybe both heels lift. Very good. It's a challenge for sure. Awesome work. Lower both heels down. Inhale, reach it up. Feet come parallel. Exhale, dive it forward, forward fold. Awesome work. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold it in. We're gonna walk the hands forward. We're gonna turn all the toes forward, hands stay on the inside of the left foot, and we're finding our lizard on the other side. So you're welcome to stay here. You can lower the back knee down. You can also lower down the elbows towards the ground or towards blocks. Again, finding that opening in the hips. Nice stretch for the hip flexor. Your choice how much energy you're gonna put into this. Awesome work. Nice and slow. Start to raise it back up. Plant the hands. Draw that left foot back through plank. And again, count to 5. Slowly lower all the way down. You can lower to the knees first. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and down. Awesome work. Point the feet. Press into the tops of the feet. Legs are glued together like you're squeezing that block together. Awesome work. Once again, inhale, lift the legs. If this feels fine, stay here or start to raise the head, neck, and chest up. Hands could stay where they are. They could hover or they could reach back. Again, you're welcome to stay here if you want that little extra. Inhale, open through the legs. Exhale, close. Use that root lock activation. Draw pelvic floor up. Exhale, close. Inhale, open. Exhale, close. 2 more this round. Inhale, open. Exhale, close. Last one. Inhale, open. Exhale, close. Inhale, lift everything up. Exhale, release it down. Hands under the shoulders, prop the toes, elbows draw together. Press the ground away, coming back up through plank. Lift the hips, downward dog. Awesome work. Almost done through the core part. Then we get into the restore. From down dog, look up at the hands and just start to walk the feet forward. You can take as many steps as you'd like. You could take one big step. You could jump forward, coming towards forward fold. Release the head and neck down. Keep at least a little micro bend in the knees, but you can bend them as much as you'd like. Awesome work. We're going to inhale to a half lift. So just like we had in wide leg forward fold, find that extension through the spine. Hands can come to blocks, to the shins, or to the thighs. We're lengthening through that spine. With this same length, slowly bend in the knees, send the hips back. We're coming into chair. Arms could reach up and overhead. We've got this nice length through the spine, hips shifting back, rooting down towards the feet. Inhale to come to standing pose. And exhale, release the hands down. Awesome, we've got one more pose for you before we take it to restore. We're coming into malasana or squat. So we're gonna take the feet about as wide as the mat, about hip distance. We're gonna send the heels in, toes out. So it'll give you lots of different options to take here. Inhale, reach the arms up towards the sky. Exhale, slowly start to bend in the knees as you lower down. And maybe this is where you come. Maybe this is where you stay. We've still got this nice straightening through the back. Maybe you start to lower down a little further. We're continuing to have that length through the spine. Perhaps the hips come all the way forward in between the legs. You could also lower all the way down onto a block. And notice that with my spine, it's staying straight whether I'm up here in a medium squat or whether I'm dropping down into the low squat. I've still got that length through my spine. And in this low squat, really find that Mula Bandha activation. Draw that energy from the earth up through the root. Lift through the pelvic floor. Find that length through the spine. Awesome work. Now with the elbows, if you have tighter hips like me and you feel a lot of sensation here, you can bring in a little more by pressing the elbows into the knees, finding a little more opening. But if you have pretty open hips, if you're more hypermobile, then you could maybe drop down into this and not even feel anything. We definitely don't want that. So you really want to bring in, well, everyone wants to bring that Mula Bandha activation. But then if you're not feeling much in here, then press the knees into the elbows to bring some activation and bring that lift from that Mula Bandha. Awesome work. One more deep round of breath in this grounding hip opener. Awesome work. When you're ready, release the hands down towards the ground. Slowly start to lift the hips. We're coming back to our forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold it in. Plant the hands. Walk the feet back to plank pose. And then we'll lower to the knees. Send the knees out wide. Big toes to touch. Send the hips all the way back. Wide leg child's pose. Release the head and neck down. Extend out through the arms. Breathe into that back side of the body. We'll take a little twist here. So we're going to send the right arm underneath. So kind of a thread the needle, but in child's pose. With the left arm extending overhead, or you could reach it up and reach it, lowering it to the low back, or reaching for that inner thigh. Awesome work. When you're ready, untwist and take it to the other side. Thread the left arm under. Right arm stays overhead or reaches up towards the sky, rests at the low back, or reaches for the opposite thigh. Awesome work. Slowly start to untwist. Walk the hands back. Bring the knees towards center. We're going to set up for a pigeon pose. Now, my favorite way of doing pigeon with props is to have a bolster lengthwise and then a block or two near the front. So however you want to navigate your pigeon pose, you definitely don't have to use the bolster. It's just a nice little addition. Bringing the right foot forward, you bring the right foot over towards the left, right knee over towards the right. And then we once again want to work with those squared hips. So that left leg is shooting out directly behind us. And then we're drawing that right hip back, left hip forward. So that we, kind of like we had in our warrior one, we're squeezing those hips together. Or you can imagine drawing the knees together like you're trying to scrunch up your mat. Bring in that Mula Bandha activation. And I like to have the blocks here so I can play up in king pigeon, a little more active back bending, or could slowly start to lower down to our humble pigeon. What we want to avoid is just dropping down, just collapsing into the hips and coming into a dead pigeon. No dead pigeons here. So we want that activation in the hips. And this can be especially important, again, for those people that are hypermobile, that maybe don't feel much here, but still need that protection for their joints. So that Mula Bandha activation, that lift from root, and then also that squaring of the hips. So those drawing the knees together or drawing the hips together will help bring that activation so we're not just dumping all of our weight into our hip sockets. Awesome work. Couple more rounds of breath. As you feel ready, we'll slowly start to raise up. We're gonna swing that back leg around. So if you're on the bolster, you're welcome to stay here, especially if you have tighter hips as we come into fire log. So we're crossing that left leg all the way over. I'll switch legs since I'm mirroring you. So you can stay with that booty lifted, especially, like I said, if you have tighter hips or tighter low back in your cow face. We're gonna inhale to lengthen up. You could also just sit straight on the ground. And then exhale to slowly start to bow it forward. Getting a nice little stretch on the outsides of the hips. Feel that grounding. One more deep round of breath. And slowly start to walk the hands back. Untwist through the legs. Shake it out. And then we'll take pigeon on the other side. So if you liked it with the bolster, try it on this side too. We're gonna bring the left leg forward. Left foot to right side, left knee to left side. You can work to bring the shin parallel to the front of the mat. Not everybody's built that way. I tend to bring my knee forward slightly. You can also flex those left toes back to help protect the knee joint. Find that squaring of the hips. Back leg out directly behind us. Right hip shifting forward, left hip drawing back, or imagine squeezing those knees together. Bring that Mula Bandha activation, so draw that root lock up. And then feel free to play in your pigeon, whether you're up in king pigeon, working a little back bending, coming down towards that humble pigeon, but again, avoiding just dropping into a dead pigeon. Still finding that length in the spine. Awesome, couple more rounds of breath here. And we're gonna slowly start to raise back up. If you're bowed down, swing that back leg forward, coming into cow face. Again, you're welcome to, if you have that bolster or even a block there, you're welcome to continue to sit on that. If you find that that helps, that lift in the booty, or scooch them off to the side. As you cross the legs, knees work to become stacked. My knees definitely aren't. I've got the world's tightest hips, so don't feel bad if they're not there. Find that connection down to the sits bones. Find that squaring through the hips. That's what's most important here. That grounding down, find that Mula Bandha lift. Inhale to lengthen, exhale, fold forward. Release the head, neck, and shoulders. Awesome, 2 more rounds of breath. Slowly start to walk your way back up. Uncross through the legs, shake them out. All right, for our next restorative pose, we are going to take a supported wide leg forward fold. So you're gonna take the legs out wide, I guess as wide as you can. And don't worry about how wide they're coming. This is where I am. Splits are not in the cards for me in this lifetime. So just meet yourself exactly where you are. And for the fold forward part, if you want to bring in some support, you can bring any configuration of stacking of the props to help bring in a little support. So you could stack, you could do a little incline here to fold in on. If you have the flexibility, you could come up against a couch and lean forward on the couch. Just find something, some way to support yourself as you come forward so you can release the head and neck down. Release the upper body. Find that opening in the hips and ground down through that root chakra. Keep the toes flexed back so that they're nice and active. Keep a softening in the knees, no locking out. And again, we don't have to come to 100% of our flexibility, maybe 70 or 80% here. Find release through the neck, through the shoulders, soften in the face. Five more rounds of breath here. Beautiful work, nice and slow. Start to make your way up and out of your wide leg forward fold. You can use the hands to bring the legs back together. Feel free to shake them out. Awesome work. One last pose for you. So if you happen to have your full setup at home, we're going to use 2 blocks and a bolster. We're going to be creating a little like Stonehenge structure, a little bench that we're going to prop the legs up on. So I'll show you the position because you can, if you don't have, like a stack of if you don't have 2 blocks or a bolster, you could stack up blankets. You could also move towards a couch or a chair. What we want is to be able to get the legs up and release through the low back. And if a couch or a chair, any sort of stacking isn't quite working out for you right now, just find a little wall space, scooch the booty towards the wall, and send the legs up. We just want to get a little inversion with the legs and an opportunity for that low back to really spread out across the mat. Really let that pelvis release. Give that Mula Bandha activation a little break. Arms can be doing whatever you'd like. You could bring in a little puffing of the chest, tuck the shoulder blades underneath to open up through the heart. You could also bring the hands to the belly, one hand to the heart, one hand to the belly. You could even cross the arms over the body if that feels better. You could even open up. Really release through that low back. And the tops of the femurs settle into the sockets. And the rise and fall of the belly, feeling the earth supporting you. Few more rounds of breath here. And as you feel ready, if you were scooched up against some furniture or the wall, scooch your way back onto your mat. We'll slowly start to draw the knees back in towards the chest. Wrap the arms around. Give yourself a little hug. Be rocking side to side. And then feel free to take the next 10 or 20 breaths to really round out your practice, to really just feel into the body, give it anything else that it's asking for. And then whenever you feel ready, we'll start to transition to our Shavasana, or our final relaxation pose. But take your time in this last little bit to find whatever you need to wrap it up before settling into Shavasana or to your final pose. And when you're ready to set that up, you're welcome. If this little Stonehenge lift of the legs felt good, stick with that. You can continue to lie on the back. You could come into more traditional Shavasana with the legs extended. You could also slide the bolster or some sort of cushion underneath the knees. But if there are any other positions that would feel better for you, then using props to support you, you could also lie on the side. You could lie on the belly. You could come. Child's pose is a good one to take, especially for grounding. So take as much time as you need to start to set up your final relaxation pose. Maybe turn on some nice soothing music. Once you find yourself in your final relaxation, allow yourself to surrender, to release the body, release the breath. With Earth Day, new moon, and just springtime in general, this is a beautiful time for renewal, for new beginnings. And I think many of us can feel that we're on the precipice of something big shift, big moves. And while those they're in the works, they're not quite taking full action now. This is the time to really ground, to really connect to your roots, connect to who you are, and to what seeds you have already planted and what seeds you want to continue to plant and what you want to nourish, what you want to bring forward in the next step, whatever this big next thing is. So as you're supported by the earth in your final pose, allow it to support you, to hold you, to nourish you. And know that even the earth itself is in the flow of life. It shifts and moves and is alive. And so when we are rooted, when we are grounded, that doesn't mean that we are stagnant. It doesn't mean that we are stiff. It means that we are able to move and flow with the earth, move and flow with the ebbs and flows of life, all coming from that solid, grounded position. So allow yourself to settle into that. Settle into your roots, to your core. to find your inner peace. If you have more time to dedicate to your Shavasana, please take as much time as you can give yourself. This is the most vital portion of any yoga practice, is taking that time to really integrate. Before we wrap up our practice, just take a moment at the end here to check in, just as we did at the beginning, just to notice, to observe, to feel. Notice any effects of your mindful practice. And as you feel ready, slowly start to bring some movement back into the body. Gently shifting onto one side of the body and pausing for a moment in a nurturing pose. Giving yourself an offering of gratitude for carving out this time, for stepping on your mat, turning on this video. As you feel ready, gently start to make your way back up to a comfortable seat. Sitting up nice and tall, you're going to find that connection of your sits bones into the earth. Sit up nice and tall. I'll invite you to send the arms out to this side. Start to reach them up towards the sky. Let the hands come together in prayer. Exhale, lower prayer hands to heart center, or feel free to take any other meaningful gesture with the hands. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. I hope that you got something out of this practice. Thank you so much for joining me. I see you, I honor you, and I bow to you. Namaste.